Welcome to the ADHD Fempreneur Podcast, where we unleash the power of the ADHD entrepreneurial mind. I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. Ladies, let's turn your superpower into success. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about networking, whether you love it or whether you hate it, especially with ADHD and being an ADHD fempreneur. Now, one of the things when you're first starting out in business, and let's just say, you're a coach or you're a consultant or you have a service-based business, is you obviously need clients. And if you don't know how to market or you haven't actually built, a following yet, you're unknown, you solve problems, but no one knows about you, you have to get yourself out there. And one of the very first things that people suggest is go and join networking events. And so when I first started in business, I was told, hey, Kerry, get your name out there, go to networking events. Now, I was pretty lucky, actually, initially. So when I first started going to networking events, and trust me, networking events they give me the ick. I can't stand them. I'm actually, and I know a lot of ADHD people are very much like this. Everyone thinks I'm an extrovert, right? I'm loud. I walk into the room and, am very loud and interrupt people and all the traits that ADHD people do. But I do it to cover the fact that I'm actually really, really shy. And I'm really sort of an introverted or extroverted introvert. So I'm actually introverted. And I know a lot of ADHD people are the same. So if people say, hey, listen, just go to a networking event, network with people and then you can get business, it really makes my skin crawl and I get really nervous and I cannot stand it and I want to avoid it like the plague. And I know that many of you will be very much the same. But like I said, it's one of the better ways when you're first starting out to get that initial awareness of who you are, the problems you solve, and to meet other people. So when I first started going to these networking events, I was lucky enough, I was actually working for another company and I was meant to be going in and networking for their company. But, and I'm not sure whether you've heard my story before, but I mention it in episode 1, in fact, where I talk about my story and getting into Facebook marketing, which is my core business. And I've built that up to over 7 figures. But when I first started that, I didn't know anything about Facebook marketing. I'd watched some DVDs back in the day and went to a networking event. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out there at this networking event and tell people, hey, listen, they went, what do you do? And instead of saying the business that I was really there for, which was the people I worked for, I went, oh, I do Facebook marketing for business. And that's kind of how it started. And I got my first client at my very first networking event. But before the networking event, I was so nervous. I didn't want to go. I don't like being in rooms with a lot of people, despite what everyone knows or thinks about ADHD is, and you might feel the same yourself, is it's really hard to be in a room with a lot of other people. There's a couple of things that go on. First of all is too much energy and it drains, right? That's one thing. Second is, especially as a female, we are trying to mask our ADHD symptoms and our insecurities and everything. So we put more energy into masking how we actually feel about being there. So nervous, inadequate, imposter syndrome comes in as well in these situations. And also external noise. Like when you walk into a room of people talking, you can't hear even the person in front of you because there's so much going on. So you've got everyone talking, speaking about themselves or speaking to you. You're expected to perform as such and to sell your services or to listen to other people. And it's just way too much for our brains, okay? And that's what happens with networking events. It's way too much for our brains to cope with. And many of us will actually avoid them. And so when you tell someone, when you tell an ADHDer, one of the better ways you're going to be able to get new business and be known, especially in your area, is go join networking events. So take the leap. Take the leap because it really is one of the quickest ways to get yourself out there, especially if, like I said, service-based business, coach, consultant. But there's certain ways to tackle it. If you've got ADHD and you feel the same as I do about them and you get really, really nervous, you don't want to go, when you get in the room, you can't actually hear hear people anyway, because external noise in the background means you can't even hear the person in front of you. Your brain's going crazy. Then there's some strategies that you can do to help with networking events, rather than avoiding them, okay? Because like I said, it's one of the easiest and quickest ways to get yourself out there when you first start, outside of, marketing and Facebook ads, which I really, really love. So the things that I do, okay? So one of the very first networking events that I went to back in the early days, I took a friend, and I took someone I knew who wasn't as shy as I was, who is a connector. So, a close friend who's okay with speaking with people, not ADHD preferably, and a connector. And I went with them. And what happened in that particular event is that they went up to people and I followed them, essentially. So walk into a room, the room's packed, I'm now overwhelmed. I'm like, now I've got to perform. I'm going to be really loud. I know I'm going to say stupid things because, the first thing that comes out of my mouth, because I'm so nervous, might not be the most intelligent thing. These are all the things that are going on in my head at a networking event. So I go with a friend who is not like me in that instance and is very confident at going up to people and chatting and follow them. So that's one of the first strategies. Go with someone and be by their side. And eventually what actually happens is you start to relax a lot more, okay? And especially if you have got someone to go with you. So one of the ones, it's actually really, really cool because we went to this networking event. It was a Chamber of Commerce one. And we've arrived in the door and she's automatically gone, right, we're going to go over to that group of people over there. And there was a group of people standing by the bar. Thank goodness. So we head up to the bar and I am nervous. I'm like, no, can't we just get drinks and go and sit at a table by ourselves? We'll have our drinks. We'll watch people until we're ready to dive in and chat to them. That was my strategy. And that is a strategy if you want to go into the event, grab yourself a drink wine before you go or drink wine while you're there. Don't go past the third glass. That's my warning to you, okay? If a method to relax you when you are going to networking events is just a little tipple of your favorite drink, then don't have too much because we all know what's going to happen there. It will probably be a lot more embarrassing. So just a glass or two of wine. But my friend and I went up to the bar and there was a group of people there. So we're ordering and we turned around and she started chatting to them, which was really, really great. And then she kind of pushed me in and I'm like, hi. And she did the introductions. Hey, Kerry this is Kerry. She's best known for helping business owners with Facebook marketing, and leaves it at that. Tell me what you do. And it's actually really important when you do these networking events, to be honest, not to actually talk about yourself. The best way to do a networking event is to actually ask questions. Let people know in a very quick way what you do. So, hey, listen, I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. I'm best known for helping businesses make money with Facebook and Instagram, right? What do you do? That's my strategy. That's it. What do you do? You get them talking, but it also makes them get curious because what typically happens and they go, oh, what do you mean by Facebook marketing? How do you do that? And then you can go into, hey, listen, this is how I do it. If you're interested, give me your card. I can send you some information or something like that. Or you give a QR code nowadays is fantastic. Or swap details, however you do that. But go in with a strategy, right? So who you are, very quickly, the problem you solve that's interesting for the other person, and tell me about you. What do you do? And be really interested. The issue we're going to have, many of us with ADHD, is they will be sitting there and they will be talking to us. And I know full well, and it happens to me, and this is the problem, and that's why it's really good to have that friend beside you who is literally there, not necessarily for their own business, they're there as your support person. They're there to promote you as such, because they will be listening whilst you are asking questions, finding out about this business owner, but you probably won't hear them because there's all this noise going on in the background. You won't actually hear them, which typically happens to us, and they'll be talking at us thinking, and you're just going, right? And your friend goes, oh yeah, that's really interesting, blah, 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 because I can usually tune into a friend. So that's a strategy to use. And that's, one of the reasons why networking events are so frustrating for us is because you can't hear people. And when they do start talking to you because of all the background noise and whatever, these are more in the social ones rather than the sit-down ones, is that your brain's trying to digest what they're saying and come up with an appropriate answer given the fact that you actually haven't heard them. So then you're trying to lip read, and then all this stuff is going on in your head, and it gets really, really overwhelming. So like I said, that's why you have a support person with you when you go to networking events who can be your support person. And maybe, if I know some people don't drink alcohol. I like and enjoy wine, perhaps having a glass of wine before you go to alleviate the nerves. And one while you're there, don't get to the third glass. However, if it's one of those sit-down networking events, like the breakfast ones, for instance, perhaps it's a little too early in the morning to be drinking wine, although it is 11 o'clock somewhere in the world. But I typically try not to do that on a breakfast one. So that's where the support person comes in handy. And to be honest, I guess the more networking events you go to, the more you put yourself out there, it really does get a bit easier. It's never going to be comfortable. Even to this day, I'll go to ones that I know the people there. I very rarely go to them nowadays. My business is built. I do most of my marketing on Facebook. Networking events, like I said, they really give me, I just get really nervous, overwhelmed. I don't like them, and I don't think I'm my best person when I go to them, right? But now and again, I've got friends that will invite me along, and I'll go with them. And I've been to some where there are, I know the people. I know everyone, most people there, and whatever else, and I'm still a little bit nervous. So another thing to do at some networking events and that, because, it is really, really easy to go into a corner, sit and watch people. It really is. Or to be the person that's over loud and saying, crazy stuff and whatnot. Just go a little bit prepared, like I said, and the support person, and just push yourself out there, okay? And what actually I find, I will often tell people in a short space of time that I am a little bit shy at times. No one ever believes me, by the way, and you probably find the same. It's like when I say to people, hey, I don't like big crowds. I don't like being around a whole heap group of people. I actually struggle. It's not that I don't like meeting new people. I have to. It's my business. I struggle with meeting new people, unless they're another ADHDer. We know, if it's another ADHDer, they're your best friend from the get-go. But one of the reasons why I also struggle with meeting new people is the oversharing. I'll meet the person at the counter to buy something, and I'll be telling them, a story about my private life or whatever else. My son sits there and goes, Mom, she doesn't need to know that. So sometimes I'm scared that I'll go to these events and then I'll overshare, or they'll be like, oh God, who is this woman? But listen, what's, I guess oversharing and what's ditzy and that to other people can be quite quirky and fun to others, and so on. So one of the things that you can do, I guess, at these networking events is you can leverage your own unique communication styles and your own strengths and know what they are. For me, it really, is, I guess, it is the asking questions, but trying to listen as best as possible. And for me, it's just the fact that I'm so confident in my business and my knowledge nowadays. I can easily speak on it. It's when you're actually not that confident in what you're doing, and if you're starting out, you might not be. That's where it can start to, you can start to get a bit nervous about it. So if that's you, then whatever your unique communication style is, you use that, and whatever you do, right, at any networking event, any event or anything that you go to, just be yourself. okay? A lot of people talk about authenticity, right? Be authentic. To me, that means just be yourself, warts and all. There are people that are going to love you and they're going to love your quirks. And honestly, there's going to be people that hate you or dislike you. Hate is a strong word, but I've had hate messages all through my social media for years, and it used to get me down. And even at networking events, I would have people that would sort of start talking and then turn away from me. And I used to take that really to heart and think, what's wrong with me, right? It's perfectly fine. And embrace that. It's really good when people, sometimes to polarize people. So you're going to go to these events. Don't try and please everyone. Don't try and be everything to everyone. Be yourself. Enjoy yourself. Take that support person and maybe drink the wine as well and get yourself out there. It doesn't have to be that hard. If you resonate with any of this stuff, if you are an ADHD fempreneur or think you are, make sure that you do subscribe to Apple Podcast or to Spotify. Any of my social media channels, follow me on there, and make sure you give me a 5-star rating. See you on the next episode.